I died on my wedding day, choking on the shards of my own shattered vows. The champagne flute slipping from my fingers as the room spun into a blur of betrayed faces and mocking laughter. 1 second. I was Olivia Harper, the radiant bride everyone envied, standing at the altar with Jake's hand in mine. The next, I was gasping awake in my old bridal suite, heart pounding like a war drum. The calendar on the wall screaming June 15th, 3 months before the nightmare that ended me. Holy shit, I thought, as the mirror reflected my unscarred face. The fresh bouquet still wilting on the vanity, I'd clawed my way back from the grave, armed with every filthy secret that had buried me alive. The first thing that hit me wasn't relief, it was rage. Pure and volcanic, bubbling up from the pit where they'd dumped my corpse. Jake, my fiancé of 5 years, the golden boy from that sleepy suburb outside Chicago, had always been the picture of Midwestern charm, broad shoulders from weekend hikes in the Indiana dunes, that easy grin that made church ladies swoon, and eyes like Lake Michigan on a calm day. We'd met at Northwestern, him in finance, me grinding through my psych degree, dreaming of a life less ordinary than my dead-end retail gig. He proposed on a rainy afternoon in Millennium Park, down on one knee amid the bean sculpture's warped reflections, promising forever. I believed him. God, I was such a fool. But that wedding, it was supposed to be our pinnacle. A lavish affair at the Palmer House Hilton, funded by his family's old money and my endless overtime shifts. 300 guests, black tie, string quartet playing Vivaldi as I walked down the aisle in ivory silk that hugged my curves just right. Until Sarah, my best friend since freshman dorms, the one who'd held my hair back during tequila-fueled breakdowns, decided to torch it all. She slinked in late, her red dress a slash of betrayal against the cream linens, and cornered me in the powder room pre-ceremony. Olivia. Honey, she'd cooed, her breath sour with the mimosa she'd chugged. Jake's been balls deep in me for months. Thought you should know before you sign your life away to a liar. The words landed like a sucker punch. But I laughed it off at first, had to be the booze talking. Right? Sarah, with her sharp bob and sharper tongue. The girl who'd crashed on my couch after her own string of bad breakups. Except when I burst into the groom's suite. There he was, pants around his ankles, her lipstick smeared on his collar like a crime scene marker. The room erupted, gasps from the bridesmaids. Jake's mom fainting into a potted fern. My dad, stoic Vietnam vet that he was, lunging like he could throttle the truth out of him. But Sarah? She didn't run. She stood there, flipping her hair, and dropped the bomb. It's not just me. Liv. It's been everyone. You're the joke, the side chick he settled for. Lies. Half of them, but enough truth to gut me. Jake had strayed before. Sure, boozy conference hookups I'd forgiven because that's what guys do, or so his frat boy apologies went. But Sarah? That was premeditated poison. The guests whispered gold digger behind my back, my own sister texting me mid-reception to bail before I became family gossip fodder. I bolted from the altar, heels sinking into the carpet like quicksand, straight to the hotel's rooftop bar. One too many shots later, I was leaning over the edge, the Chicago skyline mocking me with its glittering indifference. A gust of wind, a slip of the foot, next thing I knew, sirens wailed, and the world went black. Accidental fall. The coroner called it. Bullshit. It was murder by humiliation, courtesy of the two people I trusted most. Now, here I was, 3 months earlier, pulse racing in that godforsaken bridal shop on Michigan Avenue. The seamstress pinning my hem while "Marry You" by Bruno Mars piped through the speakers like a cruel joke. My hands trembled as I touched the fabric, memories flooding back. The way Jake's grip had tightened on mine during rehearsals. Hiding his guilt, Sarah's fake tears at the dress fitting. Already plotting her reveal. This time, I wouldn't play the victim. I'd unearth every skeleton they'd buried. Starting with the one that explained why Sarah hated me enough to destroy my life. Because deep down, I knew it wasn't just jealousy, it was something darker. A secret she'd dragged me into without my knowing. I started small, testing the waters. That night, back in our cramped Wrigleyville apartment, Jake buried in spreadsheets for his Goldman Sachs internship. Oblivious, I scrolled through old texts on my phone. There it was, buried in a thread from 2 years back, Sarah begging me to cover for her during a girls' trip to Vegas that turned out to be a solo bender. I'd lied to her boyfriend at the time. Some Wall Street wannabe named Trent, saying she was with me the whole weekend. But what if that alibi him more? A quick Google dive, nothing public, but a knot twisted in my gut. Trent had vanished 6 months later, written off as a hiking accident in the Smokies. Coincidence? In my old life.
Yeah. Now?
Fuel for the fire. The next morning, over coffee at our corner diner, greasy spoons and endless refills. The American dream in Formica, I dropped the first probe. Jake slid into the booth, all boyish charm, kissing my cheek with that cologne that used to make my knees weak.
Babe.
You okay? You look intense. I forced a smile, stirring my black brew. Just wedding jitters.
Hey.
Remember Sarah's Vegas trip? The one I covered for? His fork paused midair. Syrup dripping from his pancake like slow-motion guilt.
Yeah.
Why? I leaned in, voice casual as a summer breeze. She ever mentioned Trent?
Like,
What really went down out there? His eyes flickered, gone in a blink. But I'd caught it. Trent? That douche who ghosted her?
nah,
Ancient history.
lies.
I could taste them, bitter as the burnt toast. By evening, I'd hacked into her email, child's play with the password she'd never changed since college, Lev's BFF forever. Jackpot. Buried in deleted folders, frantic messages to an unknown number. Time-stamped that Vegas weekend. It had to be done. He was gonna tell. Clean it up. Or we're both fucked. Attached, a grainy photo of a motel room keycard. Smeared with what looked like coffee stains or blood. If you squinted hard enough. Sarah had killed him. Or paid someone to. And I'd been her unwitting shield. The realization slammed into me like a CTA train at rush hour. All those years of sisterhood. The late-night confessions over White Claw cans. And she'd been rotting from the inside. Using me as her human blind spot. Jake? He knew. Those hookups weren't random, they were hush money. Her way of keeping him quiet after he'd stumbled onto the truth during a double date gone wrong. My fiancé. My rock. Complicit in covering up murder. For what? A slice of her family's real estate fortune? The pieces clicked. Sarah's dad. That slimy developer who'd bailed Jake's startup dream with a loan last year. Rage simmered into strategy. I wouldn't scream or confront, not yet. This was Chicago. Baby, city of big shoulders and bigger grudges. I'd play the long game. Midwestern nice with a switchblade smile. First move. Widen the cracks. I texted Sarah. Girls' night soon? Miss you. Her reply pinged back instant. OMG yes. Bridal deets? Hook,
Line.
sinker. We met at the Violet Hour. That speakeasy dive with its velvet curtains and craft cocktails that tasted like regret. She hugged me tight, all perfume and pretense, clinking her Negroni against my gin fizz. Liv, you're glowing. Jake's a lucky bastard. We talked dresses, honeymoons, Bora Bora. Because why not dream big? But I steered us to the past, casual as confetti. Remember Vegas? Wild times. Trent was such a prick.
Huh.
Whatever happened to him? Her laugh cracked like thin ice, fingers tightening on her glass. God. Who knows? Probably shacked up with some stripper. Why dredge that up? I shrugged, sipping slow. Just nostalgia. You were wrecked after. I felt bad lying to him for you. Her eyes narrowed. Just a fraction enough. You didn't lie. You saved my ass. Best friend ever. By midnight, she was 3 sheets to the wind, spilling crumbs of truth.
Jake.
He's not like Trent. Liv. Trent thought he could own me. Pushed too hard. Pushed? Or threatened to expose her daddy's shady deals, kickbacks from city councilmen. The kind that built skyscrapers on crumbling foundations. Trent had been a whistleblower in waiting. And Sarah? She'd silenced him with a cliffside accident and my alibi. Jake walked in on the aftermath. Her sobbing in a casino bathroom. And instead of running, he stayed for the sex. The money. The thrill of being in on the big secret. I left her at the bar, Ubering home with a plan crystallizing. Step 2. Isolate Jake. The next week, I accidentally found his browser history, deleted, but recoverable with a free app from some Reddit thread. Searches for accidental death liability and Vegas motel footage. He'd been digging, not to expose, but to leverage. Blackmail material, tucked away for when her family's cash flow dried up. My stomach churned. This wasn't the man who'd whispered sonnets in my ear under Wrigley Field's bleachers. This was a predator in khakis. I confronted him that night, not with fire, but ice. Curled on our thrift store couch, Netflix droning some true crime doc. I murmured, Jake, I know about Sarah. And Trent. He froze, remote clattering to the floor.
What?
What do you mean?
Deny. Deny.
Deny, the classic. I pulled up the emails on my laptop, her words glowing like neon accusations. His face drained of color, that Lake Michigan blue turning stormy. Liv. It's not, she made me swear. It was self-defense. Trent attacked her. Self-defense. My ass. The photo showed bruises on her arms, self-inflicted. Probably to sell the story. But Jake bought it hook, line, and sinker, then kept buying with every illicit night. I was gonna tell you, he stammered, reaching for me. I jerked back, the couch springs creaking like a coffin lid. After the wedding, when you had the ring money safe, his silence was confession. We argued till dawn, shouts echoing off exposed brick walls. Him pleading, me dissecting every lie like a frog in psych lab. By sunrise, he was packed, tail between his legs, mumbling about space as he slammed the door. But I wasn't done. Humiliation wasn't revenge, it was appetizer. Sarah called the next day. Voice syrupy concern. Heard you two fought? Want me to talk to him? I laughed, cold and clear. No need. I know everything.
Sarah.
Vegas. Trent. The cliff. Dead air. Then a hiss. You bitch. You think you can touch me? My family's untouchable. Untouchable? In this city of Al Capone ghosts.
Please.
I hung up, already dialing an old contact from my retail days, a PI named Rocco. Ex-cop with a nose for dirt, and a fee I could swing with overtime. Rocco delivered in a week, dossiers thicker than a bear's playbook. Sarah's dad? Knee-deep in bribes. Permits greased for luxury condos on polluted lakefront. Trent? No accident, talk screen scrubbed, but Rocco's sources whispered roofies and a staged push.
Jake?
Emails to a shady fixer, negotiating his silence for stock tips. The web was vast, sticky with accomplices, city officials, lawyers, even my own cousin's firm handling the laundering. It made my head spin, but clarity sharpened my edge. These weren't friends, they were a syndicate, and I was the loose end they'd tied off with my fall. The wedding loomed, invitations out like landmines. Guests RSVP'd blissfully unaware. My Instagram flooded with heart emojis on engagement pics. I could have canceled, should have, by sane standards. But sanity was for the living. This was my second shot, and I'd rewrite the ending with their blood on the script. Controversial? Hell yes. Exposing a murder cover-up at your own nuptials? That's not etiquette. That's scorched earth. But in America, land of the free and home of the brave, or the broke and betrayed, we don't fade quietly. We burn bright. As June crept closer, I wove my trap. Fake smiles at fittings, air kisses at brunches, all while leaking crumbs to the press, an anonymous tip here, a blurred photo there. The Tribune ran a vague piece on lakefront corruption, enough to make Sarah's dad sweat through his Brooks Brothers. Jake tried crawling back. Flowers and apologies via text. I love you. Live. Let's fix this.
Delete.
Block.
Gone.
Then, the rehearsal dinner. The Palmer House's grand ballroom. Crystal clinking like fragile bones. My family beaming, mom in her pearls. Dad cracking dad jokes about cold feet. Sarah arrived fashionably late. Jake on her arm like a rented trophy. Both radiating that toxic glow of shared secrets. Whispers slithered. Did you hear? Olivia's okay with it. Open relationship or something. Lies they'd planted to save face. I stood at the head table. Veil trial run shimmering under lights. And raised my glass. To love, I toasted. Eyes locked on theirs. The kind that survives even the darkest secrets. Their smirks faltered. Good. The real show started tomorrow. The ceremony dawned humid. Chicago's summer grip squeezing the air like a vice. The Hilton's stained glass windows filtering sunlight into fractured rainbows across the pews. I walked the aisle alone. Jake's no-show a last-minute jitters, excuse that fooled no one. My gown whispering against marble floors. Each step a countdown to detonation. 300 faces turned. Ants dabbing eyes. Frat bros shifting uncomfortably. Sarah front row in that blood-red sheath. Her smile a razor wire fence. No Jake. But his absence was my gift. I'd scripted this solo act to perfection. The officiant, a nervous rabbi friend of the family, stumbled through vows for a ghost groom. Olivia.
Do you take this?
Union. Laughter rippled. Uneasy. But I held the mic like a grenade pin. I do, I said, voice steady as the L train rumble outside. But first, a confession. Gasps sucked the oxygen from the room. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's jaw set like concrete. Sarah leaned forward. eyes gleaming, thinking this was my breakdown. Her victory lap. I pulled the USB from my bouquet's hidden pocket, plugging it into the AV system with a click that echoed like a chambered round. The screen behind the altar flickered to life, not slideshows of beach sunsets, but Rocco's handiwork, grainy Vegas security cam, Trent stumbling from a motel bar, Sarah's silhouette shoving him toward the desert fringe. Cut to coroner's report overlays. Redacted lines highlighted, emails chaining Jake to payoffs, audio clips of her dad's gravelly voice bartering bribes over steak at Gibson's. This family's built empires, he growled in one. Loose lip-sync ships, and whistleblowers plummet off cliffs. Pandemonium. Screams pierced the organ's dying wheeze. Guests surged like Black Friday shoppers. Phones out recording the implosion. Sarah bolted upright. Face ashen. Lunging for the cord, but I blocked her. Silk skirt tangling our legs in a grotesque tango. You pushed him.
Sarah. Use me as your lie.
And Jake? He profited off the corpse. Her nails raked my arm, drawing pinpricks of blood. First real violence of the day, but security swarmed. Ex-cops on my payroll, pinning her as she spat. You crazy whore. It's all fake. Not fake. Verified. The twist I'd buried deepest? My own complicity. That Vegas weekend, I'd seen Trent's texts, threats to expose her dad's Ponzi scheme. The one that tanked my parents' retirement fund 2 years back. I'd deleted them at her plea, thinking it mercy for friend. Ignorance, not innocence. The crowd turned, her allies melting away. My cousin's wife vomiting into a hymnal. Jake burst through the doors then, disheveled in his tux, eyes wild.
Liv. Stop.
You'll ruin us all. Ruin? We'd ruined each other long before. He charged the altar. But Dad intercepted, 62 and built like a brick shithouse, tackling him into the flower arch. Petals exploding like confetti grenades. Fists flew, Jake's bloody nose staining the runner. Dad's knuckles splitting on his jaw. You touched my daughter? Dad roared. The room a cacophony of shattering glass and dialing 911. Sarah thrashed against guards, shrieking, Olivia.
Please.
We're sisters. Sisters? I'd bled for her, literally. Stitching her up after a bar fight. Holding her during miscarriages she never told anyone about. But blood's thicker than water. And hers ran toxic. Cops arrived in a blur of badges and zip ties, hauling them both as flashbulbs popped from the Tribune's embedded stringer. My anonymous tip. Part 2. The sanctuary emptied in waves, horrified sobs. Furious texts flying. Mom collapsed into Uncle Ray's arms, whispering, My baby. What have they done? What they'd done was arm me with truth. But the cost? My family's name dragged through tabloids. Heiress slays scandal rocks Windy City weddings. Controversial didn't cover it. This was nuclear. A one-woman takedown that painted me as vengeful harpy or heroic avenger, depending on the feed. Interrogation rooms next, downtown Clark Street precinct. Fluorescent buzz like angry hornets. I sat across from Sarah in a sterile box. Her makeup rivers of black. Cuffs chafing her wrists. No lawyer yet. Her dad's fixer was scrambling.
Why?
Liv, she croaked. Voice raw. We were unbreakable. Unbreakable? Like the vial of GHB Rocco traced to her purse that night in Vegas. Because you broke me first, I said, sliding photos across the table. Trent's mangled bike at the cliff base. Not a fall, but a force.
And Trent?
He didn't attack you. He begged you to come clean for me. Because he knew about the scam that gutted my folks. Her laugh was hollow, echoing off cinder blocks. Your folks? Small potatoes. Daddy's deals feed half the loop. Hubris. Pure Chicago strain. But the twist she didn't see coming. I'd gone deeper. While Rocco dug, I'd charmed a SEC tip line, feeding them breadcrumbs on her family's shell core. By dawn, feds were raiding their Gold Coast penthouse. Agents in windbreakers carting servers like holiday hams. Jake, in the next room, cracked first, bargaining for immunity, spilling how Sarah recruited him post-Vegas. She said it'd be easy. One secret, endless perks. Perks like the engagement ring, bought with blood money. I walked out at sunrise, the city awakening in shades of steel and smog, my gown traded for sweats and sneakers. No happily ever after waiting, just a hollow victory, the weight of what I'd unleashed. News vans swarmed the steps, mics thrusting like bayonets. MS. Harper. Was this revenge or justice? I paused, wind whipping my hair, and met the lens dead on.
Both.
In America, we get one life to make it right. I just got two. The fallout cascaded like dominoes in a gale. Sarah's trial hit the headlines 6 months later. Manslaughter 1. Conspiracy 2. Her bob now stringy jailhouse gray. She took a plea. 15 years at Logan Correctional. Her dad's empire crumbling under RICO charges. Jake flipped state's evidence, dodging bars for a suit in witness protection. Last I heard, slinging real estate in Phoenix anonymity. My family? Fractured but mending. Dad's barbecue's louder now. Mom's book club dissecting the scandal like fine wine.
But me?
Olivia Harper. Twice born. I didn't chase Prince Charming 2.0. I cashed the wedding refund, 20 grand, petty but poetic, into a PI license of my own. Rocco's old firm folding into Harper Investigations. Chicago's underbelly needed watchdogs. And I'd grown fangs. Late nights. Stakeouts in the shadows of the L tracks. I'd catch glimpses, a cheating spouse, a crooked alderman. Each bust a stitch in the scar of that rooftop slip. One evening, tailing a mark through pills and murals, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. Hesitant, I answered. Liv,
It's
Trent. Heart stutter, impossible. But his voice, reedy and alive, cracked through static. Heard about the wedding.
you.
You avenged me. Twist of twists. Rocco's deep dive uncovered a faked death. Trent and Witsec, since Sarah's threats escalated. He'd watched from afar. Silent guardian. Tipping Rocco anonymously to spare me deeper dives into my own enabling. We met at a dive-off division. Greasy burgers. Jukebox crooning Springsteen. He was older. Lines etched like bad tattoos. But those eyes still held the fire that snared me at Northwestern Mixers. I couldn't come back, he said, nursing a bud. Not till she was caged. Sparks flew. Not the fairy tale kind, but the gritty, survivor strain. Nights debating ethics over whiskey. Days building a life from ashes. A year on, I stood at a different altar, not Hilton grandeur, but a lakeside gazebo in Indiana dunes. Waves lapping like applause. Trent in khakis. Me in jeans and lace. 50 guests who knew the score. Vows simple. I choose you. Scars and all. No skeletons this time. We'd exhumed them all. Regret? It hit them hardest. Sarah's letters from prison. Pleading forgiveness. Jake's voicemails. Slurred and sorry. But for me, It forged steel. In this second life, I didn't just survive the fall. I learned to fly. 2 years blurred into a rhythm I'd never known, steady, unscripted, the kind of normalcy that feels like rebellion after chaos. Trent and I set up in a brownstone off Lincoln Park. Creaky floors and a rooftop garden where I'd plant tomatoes come spring, watching them swell like secrets unearthed. He worked freelance coding, debugging systems for startups too green to know better. I ran the PI gig, specializing in domestic unravelings, affairs, embezzlements, the quiet crimes that fester in split-level homes. No more weddings on my docket, though that chapter sealed with the dunes' salt air. But ghosts don't fade easy in this town. Sarah's appeals dragged on, her lawyers spinning yarns of abusive boyfriend and panic defense, painting Trent as the villain who'd driven her to it. Tabloids lapped it up. Black Widow bride. Was justice served? And protests popped outside the courthouse. Blue hairs clutching signs. Free Sarah. Victim or villain? Controversial. Sure, America loves its anti-heroines, especially when they're telegenic. I'd catch her on Dateline reruns. That bob perm now. Eyes pleading to the camera. Olivia was my sister. She twisted it all. Twisted? I'd handed prosecutors a roadmap, timestamps, transfers, that damning audio of her cooing to the fixer. Make it look like he jumped. But doubt crept in during quiet hours. 3 a.m. Insomnia with the city humming below. Had I pushed too far? Exposed not just her sins, but mine, the alibi I'd gifted, the blind eye to red flags because friendship's a drug stronger than reason. Trent would sense it, rolling over in our king bed, murmuring, "You gave her rope. She hanged herself." Simple, but it stuck. Then, the call that cracked the calm, my cousin Lena, voice trembling over speakerphone as I chopped onions for chili. "Liv. It's Daddy, Sarah's dad.
He's gone.
Overdose, they say." Pills in the Gold Coast high-rise. News rippled fast, front-page obit in the Sun-Times. Eulogies from Pauls distancing themselves like roaches from light. Official word. Suicide. Debts mounting from frozen assets. Empire evaporated. But whispers hit my inbox, anonymous sources. Likely ex-employees with grudges. He didn't swallow those himself. Someone force-fed him. Paranoia? Or pattern? I dusted off old files, cross-referencing with fresh hacks, Trent's coding wizardry bypassing firewalls like tissue. Bingo. Transfers from a Cayman shell to a familiar name, Jake. Relocated and rising. Now a mid-level exec in Arizona Sun. Phoenix Properties, his LinkedIn crowed. Developments sprouting like weeds on desert plots. But dig deeper. Liens tied to Sarah's family remnants. A desperate grab at scraps. And the pills? Toxicology, whispers of coercion, restraints. A final confession, recorded on a burner phone, now in Jake's cloud backups. He'd gone full villain, mopping up loose ends to inherit the throne. Sarah in stripes. Her dad silenced next.
Us.
A late-night tale confirmed it. Jake's rental tailing our brownstone. Notes in a glove box listing my stakeouts. Trent's freelance clients. Eliminate threats. One scrawled. Chilling in its banality. The man who'd once proposed under the bean was now a ghost in aviators. Plotting from afar. We debated flight. Pack the Prius. Vanished to some Pacific Northwest nowhere. But running? That's what I'd done last life. Straight off that roof.
No.
This demanded confrontation. American style. Bold.
Brash.
with a side of legal brass knuckles. I looped in Rocco's protege, a firecracker named Mia with JD. After her name and zero tolerance for bullshit. Together, we built the case. Jake's digital trail a neon sign to conspiracy. His suicide assist on the old man a slam dunk if we could flip a witness. The high-stakes play? Lure him out. I posted on a throwaway Insta, bridal gown nostalgia. Tagged Windy City Weddings. Caption dripping honey, some endings deserve sequels. Coffee. Jake, Palmer House. Noon. Bait taken. He messaged coordinates. Voice modulated but ego unmasked. Missed you.
Live.
Time to bury the hatchet. The lobby buzzed with tourists. Chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. But our corner booth felt like a confessional from hell. He slid in opposite, tanned and tailored, that old grin sharpened to a blade. You look good.
Babe.
Life treating you right? No, babe. I slid a latte his way, decaf, spiked with a tracker in the foam. Life's a bitch. But I'm winning. How's the desert? Profitable? He leaned in, cologne cutting the air. Cut the crap. You want money? A cut of the developments? Name it. Arrogance. Unchecked. I tap my phone. Live streaming to Mia's server. What I want is the recording. Daddy's last words, before you played Grim Reaper. His mask slipped, coffee spilling as he lunged. You think you're untouchable? I own the narrative now. Chaos erupted, patrons scattering. Security swarming, but I held ground, knee driving into his gut. Years of self-defense classes paying dividends. Narrative? Try evidence. Mia burst through with badges flashing. Turns out, Jake's fixer had flipped earlier that week, trading his own plea for the old man's murder tape. Audio crackled from my phone. Gasps.
Please.
Jake's voice cold as quartz. This ends clean. Or Sarah rots alone. Cuffs clicked. His empire's architect reduced to sputtering threats. You'll pay. Olivia. The family's got reach.
Reach?
In federal holding.
It was a short leash.
Trial 2 hit like a sequel nobody asked for. Jake's fall from grace splashed across scene. Wedding wrecker to widowmaker. He sang like Sinatra under lights, implicating half the old syndicate. Councilman indicted. Properties seized. Sarah, hearing from her cell, penned a final letter, not apology, but indictment. You won.
Live.
But at what cost? We're all monsters now. Monster? Maybe. But in the mirror, I saw survivor. Lines around my eyes from laughter. Not lies. Trent proposed that fall. Casual over diner hash browns. Marry me? No scripts. Just us. We did. Courthouse quickie with Mia as witness. Rings from a pawn shop that gleamed like new beginnings. Years on. The brownstone's garden thrives, tomatoes red as redemption. Trent's code humming on laptops nearby.
I mentor young pace now.
Teaching them to spot the Sarahs. The Jakes. Before the cliffs come calling. Regret? It hit them hardest. Echoes in empty cells and barren boardrooms. For me, it was the spark that lit the fuse. In this land of second chances, I didn't just change everything. I owned the rewrite.